Hi, I am Andy, and this is Fensepost. If you've been a record collector for any notable length of time, you probably have a few albums in your collection of, well, questionable quality. Now, I'm not talking about the ones that are guilty pleasures. I'm not talking about the ones that are a little embarrassing to admit that you have in your collection, though I'm sure those exist as well, but that's a subject for a future video. I'm also not talking about the ones where it's just a flat-out shitty pressing. No, I am talking about the records that are beat to hell, ones that you almost don't want to toss onto your turntable due to some physical flaw in the album, in the worry that you will wear out your needle a little bit more quickly. So today I am taking a look at albums in my collection that are in truly heinous condition, ones that will also never leave my collection. Up first is this. Released in 1990, up in it is the Afghan Whigs' second full-length studio LP. Undoubtedly grunge, as was signature to their early style, my copy is one of the rare colored vinyl variants from its original release year. And this one is the orange translucent pressing. Why does it make this list, aside from definitely having some sleeve issues? Well, it's because there's notable damage that causes a skip to A1. This sucks because A1 is really one of the better songs on the album. But it's still a cool piece to have in my collection, nonetheless. And it really wasn't expensive due to that physical flaw. Number 2. This is an original 1969 pressing of A Gathering of Promises by the Bubble Puppy. Steeped in psychedelic rock with perhaps some light notes of prog, A Gathering of Promises is one of many greats released in 1969. It's also one that doesn't quite get the attention that it should. This pressing is cool simply because it's an original from 1969, but it's still beat to hell with lots of scuffs and scratches. While that doesn't always matter in terms of playback, it does here. You get a good deal of surface noise throughout the pressing, throughout the spin. Thankfully, I do have a 1999 reissue on 180 gram vinyl, so I can listen to that nice, clean copy as well. Sometimes you just want the original, though. The third on this list is Pornography by The Cure. This is the 1982 Indianapolis pressing, meaning that it was pressed at the RCA Records pressing plant in Indianapolis, Indiana. An interesting aside, some copies of this particular pressing may appear translucent brown when held up to strong light. Pornography is one of the few records in my collection that I've graded as poor. This is due to a very concentrated warp that causes the first song on each side to skip. It'll be in my collection until, at the very least, I can find a suitable original pressing at a decent price to add in its place. You know, I got this for free, so I'm really not complaining too much. Number 4 is an exciting one. It is Gandalf by Gandalf, one of the more valuable items in my collection. Like A Gathering of Promises, this one is true psychedelic rock, and it was released as well in 1969. I've graded my copy as good plus, though the cover I would say is a solid VG, even though it has a drill hole here and so forth. Overall, the vinyl appears to be pretty solid without too many deep scratches, but lots of scratches and scuffs do exist. In a few spots, the surface noise does get close to overpowering the music. Still, I love this record, and it was an absolute steal at $20, especially given the fact that you can't really find an original pressing for less than 20 times that. Quick math, that's $400 for a good plus record. Cool stuff. I've never seen another copy of this out there in a store. Number 5 comes with a little preface of its own. This is a record that I have owned many times over, and with each new purchase, I've either gotten a better copy, which I've held on to and sold the lesser quality copy, or I got a lesser quality copy at a decent price and flipped that for some profit. It is Here Are the Sonics by the Sonics. Occasionally name dropped as really one of the first true garage rock albums, this is the best condition version I have been able to find. Good condition originals seem to be pretty damn non-existent. First, because not many copies were pressed to begin with, and second, because it was a party album back in the 1960s and 1970s. So most copies out there were played extensively and without much care due to inebriation of some sort. This one has a few pops and cracks as it plays, but it's nowhere near what the previous versions I have owned had. The cover is in pretty decent shape, actually. Rough around the edges a little bit for sure, but without any overly major splits. I think this is gold. One of two purple vinyl pressings from its original release year, 1994. This is the US version of Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. It's the band's second LP, and it just makes sense that it would be on purple wax, right? You know, I remember when this album was released, and I remember it drawing me in. And while it didn't have nearly the impact that, say, Siamese Dream by Smashing Pumpkins had on a young 13 to 14-year-old me, it still dominated my portable CD Walkman back in the day. Around 2 decades later, I'd stumble upon this in my small town record shop and pick it up for a cool $10 bill. And you know, you can't find an original purple pressing for less than 10 times that these days, regardless of the condition. So yeah, my copy has been around the block. It's seen better days. It's a bit rough around the edges. But honestly, what else would you expect from Stone Temple Pilots? Scott Weiland may have passed away in 2015, but his legacy lives on, and I definitely enjoy a double dose of nostalgia, pairing the love of vinyl and the needle crackle with the second, which is favorites from my teenage days, like Vaseline and Interstate Love Song. Can't beat it. Jesus, you know, I cannot believe how good a year 1969 was. As noted on Discogs, and I'll quote the Discogs page, initial US pressings of the Stooges' first album omitted the band's name from the big red E Elektra labels. Represses added a stylized logo to the labels below the spindle holes while retaining the big E Elektra labels. All early US pressings have red labels. Old-style gold labels indicate the first Canadian pressing. This one comes from the Columbia Pittman pressing plant per the Runout and the Matrix in the Dead Wax. Lots of wear on the vinyl. The sleeve of this one is also quite beat up. But being from the original release year, it's cool to have it in my collection regardless. I do have a 2010 reissue on 180 gram wax as well if I want a clean spin. This is an original year pressing. It is not a true original pressing. As you can see, there is the Stooges logo below the spindle hole. So that signifies that it is not a true original pressing. I am sure there are others I could add to this list, but these are the ones that stuck out to me upon compiling it. What I'd like to know from you is what are the one or two that you would include on your list and why? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and as always, keep on collecting. I will see you next time because I am nowhere near sharing my entire collection on YouTube.